You're listening to Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong, all on Georgia Radio Network.
From high atop the penthouse at 181 Peachtree Street, this is the Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong podcast, episode 81. I'm Dave Roberts. With me, she is sharp as a razor, her articles cut like a knife. Author, writer, blogger, television personality, and the brains of this operation, Jessica Szilagyi.
And I'm also dry because there was no rain from the hurricane.
I was going to announce you as surviving from the cone of uncertainty.
Right. Yes. The first time, we were talking about it before the show, first time I've ever had an emergency declaration on my county and it didn't even rain. I'm thankful, but a little bit much hype for not a lot of action.
I've heard that said about me a few times. How was your week?
It was fine, other than literally the hurricane disrupted the entire week because it was supposed to be here Monday and then Tuesday and then finally Wednesday and then it came overnight. Allegedly, I missed it, but yeah, it disrupted the whole week. But you were out of town on vacation, right?
Yeah, I ran down and we record this midweek, so I was coming back as the last show dropped. Going down to Gulf Shores was 10 hours each way from Atlanta and bumper to bumper traffic. And being a holiday weekend, it was so crowded you could not get into a restaurant. You just, I'm not going to wait an hour to get a crappy hamburger at Tacky Jack's. And then the boat didn't run well after coming back from the mechanic. So, yeah, it was not awesome. But the primary mission of that trip was to check the boat before going down there in a couple weeks with the family and putting my 6-year-old nephews on the boat. I want to make sure it's mechanically sound before doing that. So the mission was accomplished, even though the results were not as I would have wanted.
There's always next time. Isn't that what you're supposed to say?
That's it. Yeah, well, it's fine. It's fine. I need to know what the condition is, whether it's good or bad or anything before I put anybody's life, any souls on that vessel and take it offshore. But today I went to the chamber luncheon here in Paulding County, and it was the public safety appreciation, which is kind of cool. They give awards to each department, City of Dallas, City of Hiram, obviously our Sheriff's Department, but we also include 911, Georgia State Patrol.
Really, Dave?
I know. And you know what?
Oh my gosh.
I could tell by... At this hour? We're recording at night. Anyway. So, including EMS and the District Attorney's Office was giving away awards, and the head of each department was giving the awards out to their employees. And guess who I ran into?
Who did you run into?
Dick Donovan, Paulding County District Attorney.
For now.
Who is under GBI investigation. He is accused of sexually harassing a senior member of his staff, which prompted an independent investigation paid for by Paulding County, $18,000, thank you. But the GBI hasn't announced what his potential charges are or what allegations specifically they're looking into. He has a state-appointed attorney to, in quotes, vigorously defend him.
When is it my turn to talk?
I was going to say, I was shocked to see him. Go ahead.
So, I mean, your luncheon, you said it was a lunch, right? Not a breakfast? Yes. It was less than a week after the story broke. And when I say the story broke, I think the story broke on WSB, and they did not tread lightly. We'll get into why I don't think they did, but I mean, the story was pretty hard hitting, and then of course it was picked up by the AJC because they're owned by the same company, and then it just kind of rippled from there. So I'm a little surprised. A lot of times when these types of things happen, you just send your deputy chief and you stay in the office and keep your head down and act like you're just as busy as a bee. So I'm surprised he was out handing out awards and taking photos.
Obviously, she was not the employee that won the award.
I mean, so I understand that sexual harassment. I mean, I've written a column about this type of thing in the workplace. And so being sexually harassed is not the same thing as being sexually assaulted. However, I was still really surprised that her name was front and center in all of the articles with her photo. That has not been the standard unless the person does a press conference or something. I thought that was a little interesting that they had her face right there on the cover.
And so did I. And it may have to do with the fact that she sent a complaint to the Board of Commissioners on it. Right.
Well, and that's a good point. I mean, we're hearing about this in the beginning of September, basically. And this has been going on since 2017. And her complaints go back to April of this year. So my understanding is that the records that are already on record with the county are rather thick files, if you will. And then, of course, this woman has recordings. She has emails, pictures, like all kinds of things, letters from him, allegedly. But she's got a stack of evidence as well. So, as far as the independent investigation goes, I have criticized them as well. I would like to kind of know a little bit more about what led it to be $18,000. But at the same time, I am pleased that they spent the money to, one, because this is a district attorney and there are so many conflicts of interest and they're so powerful. But two, how many times do we see, we investigated ourselves and we found that we did nothing wrong? So I think they made the right choice. It's just like, when you compile the $18,000 with his appointed attorney and the fact that he's still in the job and everything else that this is going to entail, it's kind of obnoxious.
Well, the staffer emailed the complaint to county leaders, quote, in an effort to stop the unlawful sexual harassment and its impact on my work and well-being. Mr. Donovan sent a 100-page denial and sworn affidavit.
I read a little bit more about that. Apparently, he went and had a court reporter take his statement. Did you read that?
I didn't. I read his quote, but no, I didn't. I did not know he used a court reporter to take his statement.
Well, we were talking with Matt about this when we saw that the news broke, and we were all. I mean, I remarked immediately that I couldn't believe that he managed to come up with 100 pages worth of statements because. I mean, that's a lot to say in general about anything, let alone just denying flat out about the allegations. And so I did a little bit more research ahead of the show, and he had a court reporter take his statement, and that's how it was signed and notarized and everything, which means it was probably a little bit less than 100 pages and if you're typing like the rest of us type. But still, I mean, he was very thorough, and I think we have his quote.
I am very, very reluctant to categorize it as sexual harassment because I have never said I wanted to have sex with her. I have never tried to have sex with her.
And of course, the damning aspect of the articles that came out is these quotes are immediately followed by the fact that the woman says she recorded a number of conversations with him. So, anything that he says as he almost, in my opinion, made a mistake having the court reporter do it, because if it's with an officer of the court and he lied, he's added a charge to what the GBI could be investigating him for. And that's we don't know what it is, but I can almost guarantee that one of them is violation of oath of office because it's a felony. And that's something that was added by the legislature several years ago so that you could it gives 1 to 5 years in prison is what it does. And it makes it a felony. So even if you get charged with a misdemeanor crime, but you get found guilty of violation of oath of office as well, then you're now a felon, and it's supposed to be, tacking on, if you will. But, it's easy when it's something like this. The whole premise is if you're found guilty of another crime, then you violated your oath of office because you did that in your capacity as an elected official or a police officer, and therefore you should have, it is an egregious crime and therefore a stronger sentence. So I can almost guarantee that that's going to be one of those that he's facing, which sucks for him.
It does. Well, now, here's the thing about the 100-page document. Ask me if I've ever sexually harassed you.
No.
Yeah, no. Absolutely not. I don't know what the other 99 and 4/5 of the pages are, because you say absolutely not. If you're not guilty, you say absolutely not.
And I thought it was interesting because, this appointed firm or appointed attorney is representing him in his official capacity, which, it creates all kinds of issues, in my opinion, because he initially went to the Attorney General's office and they said there's a conflict of interest. And because of how they work together in so many capacities, which happens a lot, and why I feel like the Attorney General's office is so ineffective in a lot of ways, because they constantly have to recuse themselves, but say that they only represent state agencies, which is technically a district attorney because of how our courts run and everything. But it's just, I feel like it highlights some of the problems that we have with who defends who and why. And right now, there aren't any criminal charges against him. It's just this internal investigation. So the taxpayers are paying to defend him against technically an administrative issue, which isn't really an administrative issue because you can't remove him from office.
Right. And the thing is, he's an attorney and he knows attorneys. And you know what? If you're due a legal defense and you can't afford one, there's the public defender's office. And his office routinely prosecutes people who have to use a public defender.
Well, and the other thing is that if it was his, let's say his deputy district attorney or, lead assistant district attorney, and they were the one that was charged with all of this, they wouldn't be getting all of these state-appointed perks. It would be on them to hire legal counsel, and they would immediately be placed on leave. And I understand that they're not duly elected, and I get that, but they're not going to be backed by taxpayers. They'd be placed on leave.
Oh, absolutely. Even if it's paid leave, they would be removed from their office, and they wouldn't be showing up to luncheons. According to the report, though, Donovan gave her substantial gifts, including money and a pricey gold bracelet, which I don't know what price is. That says $600, and other favors of value, like the use of an official vehicle and helping to arrange for dismissal of a shoplifting charge against her.
So I think that he brought that up, right? He was saying, I did.
I don't know how it came up. It came up during the investigation.
That's right. Well, I don't think that anyone is surprised that if she found herself in legal trouble, that he would help her, because a shoplifting charge, unless she stole something, supposedly it was a misunderstanding where she took something at the self-checkout or whatever. That's the story. Whatever. I don't know what the details are, but it wasn't like she stole a diamond ring or a firearm or something. So it was a misdemeanor, and that's not under his office. So I don't think that anyone is surprised that.
It wasn't in our county.
Right.
He went personally to I can't remember which county it was, but it's neighboring here.
Bartow, wasn't it?
It may be. He went personally to go get her and talk to the I assume the solicitor and the arresting officers, and
he got her out of jail.
Yep, personally. That's one thing to make a phone call.
Right.
And you know what? You're right. If I worked in the DA's office and I was arrested on something that was, and I have no, this is all alleged. That's something I thought I scanned and put into the bag at Walmart, and it didn't scan as what she was accused of doing. Of course, I'd call my boss, going, I don't know what to do. You're the only lawyer I know. Can you help me? That doesn't bother me so much. That he would do that, but the county vehicle, which he denies, getting that vehicle for her use, her sole use, that's using county funds. Mm-hmm. Now, look, as an elected official, I don't care if you cheat on your wife. It's none of my business. That goes to your character, but I'm not going to remove you from office for doing it. But in the capacity of the chief of that department, putting the county at risk of a sexual harassment lawsuit, using county funds to either lease or purchase a vehicle for who you want to be your girlfriend. Now, if you go with your own cash and you want to go buy her a $600 bracelet and give her cash gifts to go on vacations and stuff, I mean, that's on you. The problem that I really see is it exposes the county, therefore my tax dollars, when you behave like that in office. Because I am his employer.
I think that if even one of the claims she's making is true, I think that he's going to be facing a pile of charges. And if he's charged with anything that is a felony, which would be the violation of oath of office plus anything else, then Kemp can remove him immediately. But I think, I really think he's going to be in trouble even if only one of these is true.
Well, it was awkward when he got up to talk, and I'm not passing judgment on him either way because I don't know. I haven't heard the recordings. It doesn't look good, but it was when he showed up and I was standing next to somebody and I said, "Are you kidding me? Dick's here?" They're like, "Yeah, he's presenting. Like, there's nobody else in his office that could have presented the award for him. Or he's sick. He's not feeling well. He's got a fever. He's got a case he's working on. Anything."
Right.
Sent his lead ADA, who's a really his chief prosecutor's a really good guy, above board. Could have sent him to do it. I thought it was a bit tone deaf to do that, and I was kind of sitting in the front next to actually somebody who listens to the show, and I kind of looked back and I saw all the faces when it came up. I was like, oh man, that's just not a good situation. I'm not feeling sorry for him. That's what you do when you run for office, but.
Well, I think one of the things, and it's not necessarily fair, because if it all is a sham, then, it's very unfortunate for him, because there's going to be people who believe it no matter what. But like you said, it's almost insensitive that he would show up and like I said, that may not be fair, but it's the reality, and it just, I think it does more harm than good, and could show arrogance of what's happening.
It does a little bit. And look, some of the quotes are...
Because it's the office. It's the integrity of the office that's being called into question right now. Yes, he is, but the office looks bad.
Yeah,
because all of this behavior has to do with tax dollars and everything else.
Right, that's the thing. If we were talking about the CEO of a company, it'd be you shouldn't do that, and I guess somebody's going to sue the company. But we're talking about tax dollars, and look, the county's got his weenie hung way out on this, backing him, because if it turns out to be true, she's going to turn around and sue the county. Mm-hmm. And I can't blame her. I mean, one of the quotes that I read was something to the effect of, everything still works and I'm not out of practice. And then he talked about making love to her. And apparently this is on a recording. So,
right. Well, and I really feel strongly that the WSB had to have at least heard some of the recordings in order to publish the article the way that they did, because they took some risks in the statements that they made. And I'm not saying that it's right or wrong or anything like that. I'm just, from being somebody who has had to talk about something like this before, and you're like, well, I don't know if these are the types of things we will never know if it's true unless there is a recording. And even then you have a context issue and what she said as well. But I feel like the people who broke this story have had to have seen some stuff that we haven't, or heard some stuff, to be as confident in the way that they worded some things.
Look, yeah, the WSB and the AJC is not going to put themselves in the outs with a DA's office.
Or open themselves up to a lawsuit.
Absolutely. Unless they've got something that is pretty solid. Now, again, this is a good time to say these are our opinions, and not necessarily those of All on Georgia. But it's right in the middle of a story, I know, but off the top of my head, let's not get All on Georgia sued. But yeah, it would be hugely irresponsible reporting, and it would, no one would talk to these folks again if they went off of one person's words and started putting quotes in. And when they put quotes around it, I mean, somebody listened to those recordings, and she's in possession of them. She owns them. She can give it to both the GBI and to the press because she owns those recordings. And I do love your quote, your note here, because you and I were on the same page, that he will be the next elected official to support Kegel's law of two-party consent.
100%. If this is what we are being told that it is, he's 100% going to oppose being recorded without his consent because he wrote that affidavit. Or signed it, excuse me.
Yeah, absolutely. And one last thing to say on that is he was trying to outkick his coverage. He's 74. I'm guessing she's my age or younger. You got to have high hopes.
Yeah, or hope she has low self-esteem.
That's how I landed mine.
That's terrible. She's gonna kill you, Eric. Cut that out and send it send it to Connie. And let's see what happens.
Just blackmail material.
Yeah.
So, staying in the judiciary, judge in juvenile court for 2 counties. One municipality was arrested for suspicion of DUI, less safe, speeding in excess of maximum limits, and open container of alcohol to motor vehicle. All 3 charges are misdemeanor offenses. Judge Ben Brinson of Claxton.
Yep.
And Jessica, take it away, because you kind of touched on this with the violation of oath of office.
Right. So this one is a little bit different because we don't have elected juvenile court judges down here, and I actually, when I wrote my article about this, I was wrong. He is the city court judge in 2 cities, and then he's the juvenile court judge in 2 counties. And you're appointed by elected officials in your cities, and then the superior court judges pick you as the juvenile court judge. So it's up to them to remove you unless the state judicial qualifying commission comes in. So I say all that to say, this Claxton is a town of 2,500. I've been working in there for 3 years, and people are livid that I wrote about this. I couldn't believe I would put this guy's picture out there. But my opinion, personally and professionally, this drinking and driving allegedly is one of the offenses that is on the Judicial Code of Ethics and Judicial Code of Conduct's list of things that can prompt an administrative hearing to revoke your ability to be a judge in the state of Georgia. And if any judge anywhere is facing that type of hearing that whether convicted or not, they can take away your ability to be a judge, and you're a judge in 4 different places, I kind of think that's news.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's, even though he's not elected, there are elected officials who appoint that position. And
that's right.
It is someone who sits in judgment of somebody else. And this is the verbiage is very specific. Any felony or lesser crime that affects adversely on the judge's honesty, trustworthiness, or fitness as a judge or other respects, crimes involving moral turpitude. Words are hard.
Yep. Turpitude.
Underlined for me. Thank you, Jessica. Driving under the influence of drugs and or alcohol. Then unlawful possession of any controlled substance. Now, let me tell you, this is ballsy. Dude's driving too fast. Above maximum limit is the charge, which means he's flying. Liquor on his breath, well, supposedly alcohol on his breath, and allegedly an open bottle. This is somebody who doesn't think that he can be that he's going to get stopped or get charged. I mean, look, any drug dealer will tell you, if you're riding dirty, make sure you're obeying the speed limit. You stop at every stop sign, and you use your signals, and you don't have a broken tail light. This is somebody who has no fear.
Yes, and I think, Claxton is in the county next to me. It's in Evans County. He was arrested in Statesboro, and so that's not a place where he's a judge, and no one would recognize his name on his license. And I don't know if he said anything, but if he did during his arrest, like, oh, I'm a judge, they wouldn't give a crap. So it's an interesting, it's different than a lot of other stories that we've heard from coming out of my area. But at the same time, going back to him sitting in his position as a judge, specifically the municipal court judges where there's no jury trials and the judge hears DUI cases all of the time. I sit in municipal court in Glenville every month to watch my friend Joe McGovern. And, I mean, he's the judge, juror, and adjudicator of any DUI unless someone asks for it to go to state court. So how is he, under his own, charges, going to tell somebody, throw them in jail or sentence them to community service? It just would be terrible. It really would.
And look, we were talking before the show. This is not to say that you can't have a mistake in your past. This is not saying that if you had a DUI in your past, you can never be a judge. That's not what this is. This is not somebody who's redeemed himself from his mistakes. It's somebody who's actively, like that Tuesday, was going to be sitting on the bench and sitting in judgment and sending people to jail or putting kids in juvie or taking them away from their homes. And on the weekend, he can't be trusted to call. And I guess you guys don't have Uber down there, but I assume
we do. We do have Uber in Statesboro.
Moving on up. Oh, you got the college.
Yes, and it will take you to Claxton.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Do you know that an Uber is $9,980 less than a DUI?
Yeah,
even if you Uber.
Right. Well, and you can, if you're an attorney and you're convicted of a DUI, you don't lose your license to practice law. I mean, it goes on your record with the Georgia Bar, and if you become a repeat offender, there's an issue here. So that's not it either. It's one, that you're held to a higher standard as a judge, and two, that it's, like you said, it's happening right now, and it's the exact kind of cases that he oversees. And this happened, I thought was interesting. It happened at 7:00 in the evening. So, it's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds, because there's so many, we were talking about this before the show too. There's a lot of things he can't say. Like with an open container, there's certain things you can't deny. When it's not super late, it's kind of hard to say, well, I was just tired. Or when you're speeding, I mean, it's just it's very interesting. What is also very interesting is that his law partner is one of the most powerful attorneys in the area. He's been an attorney for, gosh, I don't know, probably 140 years by now.
I'm interested to see the FOIA that comes out with the roadside audio and video.
I already asked for it.
I'm sure you did.
They denied it.
They denied it as an ongoing case?
It. Yes, and yes, they did. Which I think is a crappy thing to do, but because we have lots of cases in Statesboro Court and in Bullitt County Court that have been sealed, that have to do with people who are in appointed positions or elected positions, and once nothing is released during the process, and then as a condition of the case being settled or adjudicated or however it goes, they seal it from public record forever, so we never know what happened.
Well, I'm guessing as an attorney, he's smart enough not to take any roadside tests. I didn't see anything in any of the articles about what his BAC was, so I'm assuming he did not blow at the jail either. I did.
Well, I've seen the preliminary incident report, and there was nothing about it either. So I'm assuming, unless and they didn't ask for blood, from what I gathered. So
I am assuming that he was smart enough not to comply roadside. Now, it would be interesting if we got the audio and you hear him slurring, "Do you know who I am?" Which, if you ever have to ask if anybody knows who you are, you're nobody.
It's too late.
Yeah. Now, some of his duties have been reduced by Claxton. Some of his duties are hereby suspended until further notice. Claxton's mayor, Terry Branch, said an out-of-town attorney will serve as a substitute for now until so the court dates don't have to be postponed, which is a good move on his part to keep these cases rolling and not have somebody sitting there that's under indictment. And certainly,
yeah, it's not fair to have everybody else wait just because he's got his personal problems.
Not just wait. I mean, if they did not suspend him, you're going to have cause to throw court cases out or convictions out. Is that he's not qualified to sit on the bench? I mean, it's a horrible jackpot that he's put those municipalities in, allegedly.
Right, and the juvenile aspect is very interesting too, and that judicial circuit goes all the way down to the coast, and 4 of the counties were under mandatory evacuation. So, they haven't had, in their defense, they haven't had an opportunity to even make a decision. But I think they'll be a lot more cautious in making a move of suspending him. But it will be very interesting. I mean, being a judge in 4 places will keep you pretty darn busy. So it would be a big deal for him to be placed on suspension for the juvenile cases as well.
And I don't see how they don't ethically. I mean, I understand he hasn't been convicted. I mean, well, there you go. And I think his bail was only like $2,100 or something like that.
Right, which I think that's not that bad, except that no one else is like that.
Well, especially if you're in Louisiana. A magistrate court judge in Louisiana alleged to use fines, bail money to fund his court operations. Orleans Parish Magistrate Henry Cantrell was accused of typically setting a minimum bail of $2,500 for defendants and threatening defense attorneys who sought bail reductions. We're just hitting all sorts of the judicial branch today.
Well, I mean, apparently there's problems. Apparently there's problems. That's all I'm going to say. But this one is one of those things where you kind of like cock your head to the side and say, did no one think this was an issue at any point in the process? It's like Cash for Kids or Kids for Cash. Did you ever see that documentary? No. About the judge, the juvenile court judge? I think it was in Pennsylvania, where he was in cahoots with this private jail for or youth detention center, and so he'd send a kid there and then he'd get a kickback. I mean, I understand that was for personal use, but it's really not that different when you're making decisions based on how much money you or your office is going to get.
Louisiana. You think you've got corruption down there? Louisiana's known for it. Again, my opinion, not necessarily those of all in Georgia. So one defendant sat in jail for 2 weeks trying to collect the money. A second defendant was unable to pay bail and stayed in jail for more than a month before being freed. Cantrell's court got a chunk of any fines and bail money collected. The court used that money to fund its operations. Jessica,
how do you not see anything? How does someone not say, wow, this doesn't sound right?
You're running a for-profit organization at that point.
Well, and, I mean, so I, again, did a little research when I saw this story, because this isn't the kind of thing where, like the story, the AP article that came out from the Associated Press wasn't long enough to really detail, but apparently this is part of an ongoing crisis where the state of New Orleans, the state of Louisiana is not properly funding any of their courts. And so it's not an excuse, because this comes back on the judge, and particularly, especially if he's elected. But I guess they're in a crisis across the board because they don't have enough money. However, have a barbecue or something and fundraise, for God's sakes. This is ridiculous.
Man, it's... Ask the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals to rule that setting bail amounts and also funding the court bail proceeds did not violate the due process rights of defendants. The 3-judge panel on the Fifth Circuit of Appeals rejected Cantrell's request. It's a 14-page ruling.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that two court rulings came down within maybe 7 or 10 business working days of each other, and they were along the same lines and go back to, was it 2016? I mean, this has been an ongoing thing, but one of the defenses of this judge was, well, we did stop that one practice. They had halted, I think it was how he was setting, I think it was the fee schedule and the fine schedule. They had done that, but they were still doing other things like using the fine specifically. It's the same reason that people are against civil forfeiture fines going to prosecutors, and the same reason that police departments are only allowed to use their fines for a certain amount of expenditures. It's the exact same thing.
And in the opinion, if a magistrate needs bail money to fund court system, he is incentivized to extract bail money from defendants. Well, that's a bit of reasonable logic coming out of the circuit, the Fifth Circuit of Appeals. That I filed that under no kidding. Yeah, if that it goes back to speed traps for municipalities that didn't even have an exit on the interstates. They would set up, and it was essentially just a toll. They needed to fund their cities, their municipalities, so they would put their deputies or their police vehicles out there and ticket as many people as they could get going down the interstate, because they needed a piece in order to fund their local government. The next quote I have is, while Cantrell did not pocket the money himself, these bail bonds paid for up to a quarter of some of the court's budgets.
That's a lot, because no magistrate judge or no magistrate court, we're not like talking about $7,500 here. I mean, it's expensive. It really bothers me. I don't understand. He shouldn't even be allowed to be a judge if he's doing something like this.
No, it's unethical. And I don't even want to get into his motives, saying well, his motives are good. He's trying to fund the court. Now, you know what? There's principle, and if you're setting the minimum bail at $2,500, and as we covered in our bail special, it needs to be proportional. Excessive bail cannot be levied. So for somebody who works for $8 an hour and is accused of, let's use the last example, shoplifting, and you set the bail at $2,500, this person loses his job because he doesn't have $2,500 to bail himself out because the judge wants to make sure that he can fund his budget. It's absurd.
It's one of those things that there's no doubt in my mind from the very first few sentences of any article about this. So I just don't understand how it got as far as it did. And I really hope that they have some sort of JQC type thing that can throw the book at him. And honestly, the people that work, I mean, unless you're taking marching orders, and ultimately he's the one that's responsible, but I have no doubt that there were some, he doesn't work alone.
And I'm guessing if you check the other parishes, you're going to find something similar. You go to St. Bernard Parish, which is very close, or any of these other areas around there. He's probably the one that got caught.
Sure.
So sort of like everybody's speeding down the highway and you pulled me over. You're the one I caught. Again, my opinion, not necessarily those of all in Georgia, but I'm guessing that this is not a practice that he invented. That he just decided, hey.
No.
Now maybe his...
Well, and these things don't just go to court, 2 weeks after it happens to the first person. A lot of people are usually wronged before there's any change.
Oh, sure. Cheaters don't ever get caught the first time.
Right.
It's just the way it is. You don't get busted your first time doing something. So I'm guessing that this is not something he invented. Somebody else got him doing it. Maybe he's the one who set the minimum. But the fact that he was scolding attorneys in his courtroom for asking for reduced bail and essentially punishing them in his courtroom for asking for reduced bail, that means I think he may have taken the practice to another level.
Well, the good news is it will always be his name that's in the court hearings telling other people what not to do.
Right. And I wonder what his bail will be set at.
Allegedly.
This is one of those things. It's probably a process thing that'll go away. Again, in my opinion, that they'll say, "Don't do that anymore." He'll say, "Okay, I won't do that anymore," and it'll go away. Or he'll leave the bench and go into private practice and argue for reducing bail for his clients. So, staying with the theme, judge says atheists can be blocked from delivering invocation in the state house.
I think this is just a weird. I think this is a good conversation, so I'm excited. Hopefully will we agree? Let's see.
So, 7 non-theist individuals filed a suit in 2016 after a member of the Dillsburg area Free Thinkers requested to give an invocation in the State House in 2014 and was rejected by then Speaker Sam Smith. Recent ruling reversed a lower court decision and held that a policy within the state's House of Representatives that invocations that open its legislative session can be given only by a lawmaker in the House or a member of a regularly established church or religious organization is sound. The court ruled that the policy does not violate non-theistic persons' First Amendment rights because it abides by the historical tradition of legislative prayer and counts as government speech, which allows a government entity to select specific views. That's a mouthful.
It really is. And first of all, I think that the quote, the victim or the wronged party in this case is being identified as the wrong person. I think the elected official who is not permitted to have their person brought forward is the one who's wronged by the policy, not necessarily just atheists in general, because you can't just be anybody. Like, you have to be selected by a state rep. So I think that's a bit off. However, it's interesting that they rely on First Amendment protections with regard to a policy in the state house, of all places, that relies on, precedent of prayer.
Man. First of all, the people that the non-theists or the atheists that want to do this are just being dicks. What do you care? If you don't believe there's a God, just leave them alone.
Well, I agree with that, but if a state rep wants to have somebody speak and give an invocation, who is the government to decide what that invocation can... I mean, that's the antithesis of what they should be advocating for, in my opinion.
Well, true. Yeah, look, if a rep wants to bring up someone from the church, the Flying Spaghetti Monster, a thing, who's to say that that's not established? It's recognized. Pastafarians are recognized. In fact, if you're a member of the military and you're a Pastafarian, you can have Flying Spaghetti Monster put on your dog tags. If you're a dudist...
And...
Yeah. In fact, if you can...
I mean, we don't want...
So you can get your driver's license taken with a colander on your head if you're a Pastafarian. Sorry, Jessica.
No, I mean, I think we're having some technical difficulties tonight, but I agree with you, and I just don't like the idea that the courts have given the state house the authority to, in a policy, define what God is acceptable, or, I mean, not even from a God, or I think they referenced the word higher power, and it has to be a certain recognized, like they're determining what is recognized. That is not what government is for, even amongst their own rules. I don't like that, because it's just exerting power where they shouldn't be doing it.
Right, and to your point, it's not the freedom of the individual to speak at the State House, because we don't individually have authority or a right to go speak from the well. However, every member of the House has the privilege to appoint somebody from his district to give the invocation. Or her. In proper English, his can be either. I know. Or Z. But that's
terrible.
So what they're doing is they're taking the privilege away from one of their members. And that's right. the
and the court's upholding it. That's not right either.
So I would guess a lot of these atheist groups will push hard enough, and it will go up. I mean, it'll go to the next court. They're well funded, or they've got attorneys that are with them. I guess they're not atheists anymore, non-theists. It may very well go up to the next level, and it's an interesting conversation to have, because we talked about this before the show, that a lot of times we end up defending the worst people. They're being dicks to say, well, I want to give a prayer. Well, you don't believe in God, so what? That's my right to give a prayer. Why? But it's also interesting because they are an arm of government, and they cannot establish a religion. Therefore, it's not the state house's job to decide which religion is valid, which one isn't.
So they're wrong.
Everybody's wrong.
Good news.
Shocking.
Good news. Right. Yeah, I just think it's a poor practice. I don't like the precedent that it's setting, and I totally agree with you that, I mean, there are plenty of atheist organizations that go looking for a reason to be upset. I agree, and I've seen it, and even if they're right, it's still kind of like, okay, really, like, I get it, but really?
And look, I've known people that make a point out of walking around during a prayer, during an invocation. You know, and I've said it before, if you don't believe, shut up. Don't shovel food in your mouth for like 3 minutes. And if what they're saying in your mind is bull, disregard it and go on with eating your pasta. Just be quiet for the 3 minutes and show a little respect for people who do believe. And it's not a pro or anti-religion. It doesn't matter. If someone wants to pull out a prayer rug and point east towards Mecca, just shut up for 3 minutes and let him do his thing.
I concur.
You know, not everything is something that needs to be drugged before the Supreme Court. Sometimes you just ignore something. You know, just let it slide. They're not hurting you. They're not established. It just, yeah, so they're right and they're wrong. Sorry, we're going to belinger the point. Oh, you said State Rep Trey Kelly's dad gave an invocation that was disaster.
I think we talked about it on this show, but because it was just this year. But his dad, who is also a teacher in Polk County schools, and the football coach, I believe, or some coach or maybe athletic director, I don't know, but he's a teacher in the Polk County School District and the father of a state rep. He gave an invocation and said that 70% of Georgians are doomed for hell because of their position on, like, even their position on abortion and what they're willing to allow. And so he condemned everyone to hell. And it didn't really go over well. And it bordered beyond just the quote invocation and got political, and it was allowed because he's the father of, I don't know what his job is, but obviously not important enough for me to remember, but he has a ranking position, and so nothing happened. But it's the same premise. Like, you either open the floor and let everyone say whatever they want, or you close the floor and you don't have it, and everyone just has a moment of silence before they get their day started.
Or you have one person you elect as a chaplain to give the invocation, and it has to be a state rep.
Oh, God. I don't want...
Whatever.
Terrible.
I don't care. I mean, look, the longer the invocation goes, less time they have to pass BS laws. So,
it's true.
Whatever. If that's the way they want to spend their time. Of course, they spend the first 20 days doing nothing for the first 4 hours of the day besides recognizing people in the gallery. And then when it gets close to changeover day, they act like they're rushed. There's just not enough time to get it all done. That's a different subject for a different show. Not that I'm bitter. Jessica, closing thoughts. Yeah,
so of all that nastiness and terribleness this week, we did have one good thing come out of the courts, and that was a U.S. district judge ruled finally after, 17 years, that the terror watch, or the terror watch list, violates constitutional rights.
You don't say.
I know, right? Like, anyone with half of a brain that sometimes functions has known this for forever. And of course, I'm sure that there's blowback because I think there were 24 Muslim U.S. citizens who brought the case through the courts. And, there's plenty of people who think that that's wrong, that they should belong on the list. But the reality is that they don't. And I'm glad that the courts have ruled this. I don't know what's going to happen, and neither does the judge. He said that he wants everyone to deliver some briefs and offer more information before he determines what the remedy should be. But I've been opposed to the watch list for forever because you don't have to do anything to be on it. You don't know if you're on it until it creates problems for you. You can't get off of it. And we don't know anything about the list other than that there is a list. And so it's anti-American. And this Judge Anthony Tringa, props to him. I hope he, I don't know what he's going to do, but I'll bring it back up in my closing thoughts at a later time when I have more information.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely the right ruling to make. And he's not saying you can't have a watch list, that intel agencies can't keep an eye on people, but you get on these lists, including the no-fly list. You have no idea how you got on there. You have no idea how to get off, and there's no one you can talk to about it. So that's a very good closing thought. Mine is, as I said, I was at that luncheon, and one of the presenters not giving away, but recognizing one of his officers was City of Dallas Police Chief Joe Duvall, who is a very well-educated gentleman who came to us after 30 some odd years working in Marietta, and before that in the military as a master's degree. And he absolutely appalled. And I was sitting next to, as I said before, another freedom-minded person who actually listens to the show. And he said, what we're doing is we're investing in license plate scanners, cameras. And the city of Dallas is not big. Like, my address is Dallas. I don't live in the city of Dallas. City of Dallas is relatively small, and they're investing in interagency SWAT teams, which I don't really oppose. That's fine. That's especially if they can share personnel back and forth and no one municipality has to spend the money. But he also started a policy where individual citizens can register their security cameras from their homes with the city. And if a crime is committed, they would have access or know where to go to pull video from that area. They're getting real-time surveillance. So again, just to keep us safe, if something happens, they'll be able to pull all the tag information of everybody who passed that stop sign and within that day in real time to go and investigate if there's a crime committed. And I could,
I mean, that's some grade A bullshit right there.
Oh, it was, I couldn't get my phone out fast enough to get the Big Brother all-seeing eye before a guy next to me was like, this is Big Brother bullshit right here. And he is proud of it. And the people in the room, I was sitting too close to the front to see everybody's reaction. Because a lot of people are like, oh, that's really good. Oh, you're going to keep us safe. Oh, how wonderful. The government's here to keep us safe. And I just couldn't think, man, you're literally, he's talking about like 5,000 people have been on the website. He doesn't know if they've all registered or not, but to register, they have security cameras and which way they face and whatever information they get. So you're essentially giving the government a spider web of cameras everywhere watching everything. And since it's volunteer, you wouldn't need a warrant to pull this stuff up. And I have cameras on my property, but I'll be damned if I let the government know and give them access to it.
No, absolutely not.
I know I'm crazy. But if you're still listening at this point and we haven't bored you or run you off or offended you, please like and share us on social media, Facebook. Give us a rating on whichever platform you use to listen to us. 5 or whatever the maximum number of stars is. Otherwise, don't bother. So, for Jessica Szilagyi, I'm Dave Roberts. Have a great week.